गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामचर्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा गिरधरी भगवान की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada all glories to Srila Gurudev Hare Krishna welcome to our session today. So we continue reading from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. Let's share the screen. I'll read from the book and follow it on the screen. Saktavesha avatars and their particular functions are mentioned in the Vedic literature. For example, the Emperor Prithu possessed the Shakti for God-conscious administration. The four Kumaras possessed the Shakti of transcendental knowledge, and Narad Muni possessed the Shakti of devotional service. Lord Buddha, whose name and activities are described in Srimad Bhagavatam, is also a Shaktavesha avatar, and even other divinely empowered personalities outside the Vedic culture, such as Jesus, Christ, and Muhammad, are accepted by Vaishnava Acharyas as Shaktavesha avatars. Srila Prabhupada's activities during the years 1968 through 1971 established him as, as a Shaktavesha avatara, and he fulfills the prediction of the scriptures. Prithivite ache jodo Noguradi gram, Sharbotto prochar hoibe mor naam. In all the villages and towns all over the world, everywhere, the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya will be preached. Even from the viewpoint of religious history, Prabhupada's preaching was a fulfillment of the mission of Lord Chaitanya, who had appeared in West Bengal about 500 years before Krishna consciousness came west. The Vedic literature and the Vaishnava Acharyas concur that Lord Chaitanya is the original supreme personality of Godhead Krishna himself, appearing in this age as a pure devotee of the Lord. And just as Lord Krishna appeared with his plenary expansion, Lord Balaram, Lord Chaitanya appeared with Lord Balaram's incarnation for Kali Yuga, Lord Nityananda. Srila Prabhupada can be appreciated not only generally, but as the empowered representative of God, but specifically as the manifestation of Lord Nityananda. According to Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, Lord Krishna manifests himself to the souls of ordinary men through Lord Nityananda. The individual soul requires the help of God to realize God. This help comes by the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda, who is therefore known as original Guru. Although Lord Nityananda is the direct expansion of Lord Chaitanya, his pastime is to serve Lord Chaitanya by redeeming the fallen souls. Shri Prabhupada Leelamrita ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Shrimad Bhagavatam Puranam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Parahamsyam Ekam Mamalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyamavishkritam Tat Shrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paru Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. We'll continue to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 17, Text 12. Share my screen. I'll recite the verse and then we'll do the word for word and translations. Eshu Purushanam Ayuta Purushayur Varshanam Deva Kalpanam Nagayutaha Prananam Vajra Samhanana Balavayo Moda Pramudita Mahasaurata Mithuna Vyavaya Pavarga Varsha Dhritaika Garbha Kalatranam Tatra tu Treta Yuga Samaha Kalo Vartate. Okay, can somebody read the word for word?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read. Hare Krishna. Esu in these 8 verses or tracts of land, Purushanam of all the men, Ayu 10,000s, Purusha by the measure of men, Ayu Barshanam of those whose years of life, Deva Kalpanam, who are like the demigods, Naga Ayuta Prananam, having the strength of 10,000 elephants, Vajra Samhanana, by bodies as solid as thunderbolts, Bala, by bodily strength, Vayu, by youth, Moda, by abundant sense enjoyment, Pramudita, being excited, Moha Shaurata, a great deal of sexual, Mithuna, combinations of man and woman, Vaya Bhaya Upavargo at the end of their period of sexual enjoyment, Barsha in the last year, Dhrito Eka Garbha, who conceive one child, Kala Tranam, of those who have wives, Tatra, there too, but Treta Juga Samaha, exactly like the Treta Juga, when there is no tribulation, Kalaha, time, Vartate exists. Thank you, Prabhu.
Mataji. And somebody else can read the translation, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'll read the translation.
Sure.
In this 8 verses or tracts of land, human beings live 10,000 years according to earthly calculation. All the inhabitants are almost like demigods. They have bodily strength of 10,000 elephants. Indeed, their bodies are sturdy as thunderbolts. The youthful duration of their lives is very pleasing, and both men and women enjoy sexual union with great pleasure for the long time. After years of sensual pleasure, when a balance of 1 year of life remains, the wife conceives a child. Thus, the standard of pleasure for the residents of these heavenly regions is exactly like that of the human being who lived during Treta Yuga. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And somebody else would like to read the purport.
May I, Prabhuji, please?
Sure,
Hare
sure.
Krishna, David Pranam. Peppered by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are 4 yugas, Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug and Kali Yug. During the first yuga, Satyug, people were very pious. Everyone practiced the mystic yoga system for spiritual understanding and realization of God. Because everyone was always absorbed in samadhi, no one was interested in material sense enjoyment. During Treta Yuga, people enjoyed sense pleasure without tribulations. Material miseries began in Dwapar Yuga, but they were not very stringent. Stringent material miseries really began from the advent of Kali Yuga. Another point in this verse is that in all 8 of these heavenly verses, although men and women enjoy sex pleasure, there is no pregnancy. Pregnancy takes place only in lower grade life. For example, animals like dogs and hogs become pregnant twice a year, and each time they beget at least half a dozen offspring. Even lower species of life, such as snakes, give birth to hundreds of young at one time. This verse informs us that in grades of life higher than ours, pregnancy occurs once in a lifetime. People still have sex life, but there is no pregnancy. In the spiritual world, people are not very attracted to sex life due to their exalted devotional attitude. Practically speaking, there is no sex life in the spiritual world. But even if sometimes it does occur, there is no pregnancy at all. On the planet Earth, however, human beings do become pregnant, although the tendency is to avoid having children. In this sinful age of Kali, people have even taken to the process of killing the child in the womb. This is the most degraded practice. It can only perpetuate the miserable material conditions of those who perform it. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll just read the translation again. In these 8 varshas or tracts of land, human beings live 10,000 years according to earthly calculations. All the inhabitants are almost like demigods. They have the bodily strength of 10,000 elephants. Indeed, their bodies are as sturdy as thunderbolts. The youthful duration of their lives is very pleasing, and both men and women enjoy sexual union with great pleasure for a long time. After years of sensual pleasure, when a balance of 1 year of life remains, the wife conceives a child. Thus, the standard of pleasure for the residents of these heavenly regions is exactly like that of the human being who lived during Treta Yuga. So, as people who are following, we are discussing this verse in relation to this chapter, which is the descent of river Ganga. And it is described in the earlier verses how she flowed from the spiritual world on account of Lord Vamana's pastime, and how she comes down from the spiritual world into the material world, first into Dhruva Loka and then into all the other lower planets, till she arrives in this tract known as there are these 9 islands. So in the previous verse, interestingly, it's being mentioned. Somebody is not on mute. Thank you. So there are totally 9 varshas, so 9 tracts of land. Now, interestingly, out of that 9, Bharatvarsh, or where perhaps we could say we are, is the place where it is meant for fruitive activities. So you do something and you get a reaction, not necessarily for enjoyment. It is you do and you get some reaction, and you obviously suffer or enjoy that reaction, that result. But the other 8 varshas, interestingly, are described here, meaning the people who are living in those 8 varshas, what is their characteristics. So this verse highlights those characteristics. So let's look at them one by one. So first, it is said here, Ayuta Purushur, Purushayur, Ayuta Purushayur. So Ayuta Purusha means 10,000, meaning that the people who lived on these 8 varshas, they lived for how long? 10,000 years, right? And because it is 10,000, it is compared to people who lived during Treta Yuga, because we know that in Satya Yuga people live for 100,000 years. Then in the next Yuga, Treta, they live for 10,000 years. Then in Dwapar, they live for 1,000 years, and in Kali, it is 100 years. So because the lifespan of people living in these 8 varshas is 10,000 is compared to the lifestyle or the enjoyment that people had during the Treta Yuga. So that is the first part. Second part is another nice interesting point here is Nagayuta Pranana. So Nagayuta means the persons who lived in this particular varsha, they have the strength of 10,000 elephants. So that is the second part. So first one is their lifespan or their age, they age up to 10,000 years. They also have the strength of 10,000 elephants. Not only that, another aspect is mentioned about their strength. And what is that? The word is Vajra Samhanana. Vajra Samhanana means their body is as strong as a thunderbolt. And why thunderbolt? Because we know thunderbolt can be used to even crush mountains. It's so powerful. So the persons living in this particular Varsha, they had the body as strong as thunderbolt and the strength which could be equal to 10,000 elephants. So that's the third part. Now the interesting thing aspects that they had so much bodily strength. Okay. Now, what do you do with such bodily strength? So here it is mentioned, the fourth part is Vyavayaya Apavarga. Vyavayaya Apavarga means, what does Prabhupada say here? The end of the period of specifically sexual enjoyment. So at that part, so here in this tract, at the end of the sexual enjoyment, what happens? Dhrita Eka Garbha. Eka Garbha means the wife will deliver one child. No twins, no triplets, no quadruplets, just one child. And the last aspect is Treta Yuga Samaha. So here, all of these qualities are mentioned. So first is live for 10,000 years. Second is strength of 10,000 elephants. Third is body like that of thunderbolt. And then at the end of that sexual period, of course, they will enjoy for those 10,000 years, obviously. So there's a lot of sensual pleasure, a lot of sense gratification that people are looking for. And at the end of that period, when 1 year remains, the wife conceives a child, and the level of pleasure compared here is like that of Treta Yuga. Now, what comes to mind when we read such descriptions or these qualities of people who lived in these 8 Varshas? What is it that first thing that comes to mind? Honestly, it's the best place to be. Right? Is it not? It's the best place to be. Why? You've got all facilities for enjoyment. Right? We are all looking for enjoyment, right? We all want enjoyment. Even when we are performing devotional service or we're doing some form of service, we are looking for some enjoyment. We should feel nice about it. We should feel very excited, very satisfied, very blissful. So we are all looking for enjoyment. And these descriptions they seem like the perfect place where we can enjoy with minimum restrictions and with minimum problems or miseries. That's why in the purport Prabhupada writes that there are 4 yugas, and in 4 yugas, what was the mindset of people? So in Satyug, people had complete facility for sense enjoyment with no miseries at all. Right? But the people in that particular yuga voluntarily accepted higher spiritual practices because that gave them better sense of satisfaction, pleasure, and connection with the divine. So they did not indulge in sense gratification, although they had full facilities. That was in Satyug. Prabhupada mentions here that no one was interested in material sense enjoyment. So you have the facility, but you choose not to. And that's why that's the highest form, where sometimes when we don't have a choice, then we can't say that, oh, I've renounced, or, I don't want this. Are Baba, you don't even have this. And how can you say, I don't want this? But in Satyug, they had full facility, but they chose not to utilize it. So that's why that particular period or yoga is considered the best. Then second is Treta, where facilities were there. And sometimes there were some, tiny or minor issues that may crop up. Very, very, very infrequently. So it was almost Satyuga with some little tribulations, Prabhupada says. And then, of course, we had Dwapar, where, yes, there were some amount of miseries that started cropping up. So you have flesh sense enjoyment, but you also have some miseries to face. And Kali Yuga is, Prabhupada writes, stringent material miseries began. So material miseries are more, pleasure is very less. but we are still wanting to see pleasure. So in a situation like this, when we are in Kali Yuga, we want to enjoy, we have that desire and propensity to enjoy, but we don't have facilities. There are so many rules, restrictions. There are so many impediments and miseries that stop or become roadblocks in that enjoyment. And in that context, when we suddenly read, wow, in 8 varshas, you live for 10,000 years and you have a body which is as strong as a thunderbolt. Means what? There is no jara. There is no, even if there is jara, there is no vyadhi. Of course, before you die, it's a fact that you will grow old. But that old age is not like how we face over here because vyadhi is minimal. I mean, it is there. It cannot be completely zero, but it is very, very minimal. So minimum that it doesn't affect your ability to enjoy it. So that is a very important part. So if we live for 10,000 years and if we have the body as strong as a thunderbolt and the strength of 10,000 elephants, what is the impediment to enjoyment? Nothing. We full 10,000 years you can enjoy, right? And obviously there are no restrictions where somebody is working very hard to earn their living, unlike here, right? So you have all facilities for enjoyment. You have all the bodily strength for enjoyment. All your senses are very strong, right? I doubt anybody has got specs over there or hearing aids. All the senses are very, very strong for enjoyment. So much so that specifically the highest form of sense enjoyment or sense gratification, in this material world is obviously the act of sexual union. So specifically it's been mentioned here because that's the epitome of sense gratification, epitome of sensual pleasure. So there in that particular 8 varshas, there was unrestricted, no miseries were there in the man and women enjoying constant sexual pleasure. Now in this material world, especially this in Kali Yuga, where we are in this Bharat Varsha, yes, people want to enjoy. Yes, there are facilities that somehow people search and procure and somehow want to enjoy. But when there is obviously the union of the man and women, there is always the fear of pregnancy. Because you want to enjoy, but you don't want to get pregnant, because pregnant means responsibility, another child, and the whole thing goes topsy-turvy. Ask all the parents who are in the forum what it is to get pregnant and raise a child. So every time if there is a union and there's a child, then that's a problem. And so in the end of this purport, Prabhupada writes that because that pregnancy is a problem, people have come out with the solution in Kali Yuga that better to, let's enjoy, but we don't want the pregnancy. So there are all these contraceptives and, many things that are going on. And if that doesn't work, then the womb or the child is aborted at an early stage. So this is where people are at. So they want to enjoy, but there is the flip side of getting pregnant, which is leading one to misery. But in this Varsha, these 8 Varshas, the pregnancy does not happen. You can enjoy as much as you want. You can unite as much as you want. There will not be any pregnancy. Isn't this amazing, fantastic? I mean, what more opportunity we need or we seek for enjoyment? Perfect, right? Then what is very important is, of course, when we come to the later stage of our life, even here, people want to have progeny. So they have worked hard, they have made a business, or they have made a lot of assets, they have made a lot of money, and they want somebody to take over that acquisition. So for that, to that end, they want to have a child. So here also, they enjoy, but just before they have to leave, the wife becomes pregnant. And then, of course, the lineage of that particular family or dynasty continues in all of these 8 varshas, right? So looking at this, hearing this, we feel all the more attracted, is it not? That, oh, this is so attractive. Now, who are the people who come here? What is, see, the description is given, and naturally it is very attractive. For any conditioned soul, it is very attractive. Everything seems perfect for here. It's just like, if you have to go to a holiday destination. Now holidays are coming up, and some of us may be looking at traveling somewhere or staying somewhere, and we see, we go through a lot of options. So we see what is the cheapest one, which one has very nice scenic beauty, what are the facilities, many other options or considerations we have, how far it is from home. And based on that, we tick the boxes. Okay, this is good, this is good, this is good, it's cheap, it's not too far. And okay, it ticks our box, and this is a perfect place, let's book. So this verse in Bhagavatam, it seems almost the perfect place to enjoy unrestrictedly with minimum miseries, and we want to achieve that. So what can one do to go there? Is also mentioned. So who are the people who go to these varshas? We understand from Bhagavad Gita, in 9th chapter, it is given that who are the people who go to these places of sensual enjoyment. And in the previous verse, I think, previous verse itself, there are descriptions of 3 places of enjoyment. Enjoyment, where you just go there to enjoy. And what are the 3 places? There is that Divya Swarga, correct? And then there is this Bhauma Swarga and Bila Swarga. So Divya Swarga is the heavenly planets, Swarga. And Bhauma Swarga is this, these 8 varshas. And below that, in the lower planetary systems also, there is Bila Swarga, where there is facility for enjoyment. So what we are discussing here is that Bhauma Swarga, that in this earthly planetary, these varshas, or the middle planetary systems, there are these 8 varshas, and there they have the facility for enjoyment. So what is the process for getting here, as I was mentioning? So let's see. In Bhagavad Gita, it is very nicely mentioned how one can go there and what is the process. So it is 9:20, chapter 9, text 20. Traividyamam soma paputa papa yagyairištva swaragatim prarthayante te punyamasadhya surendra lokam asnanti divyan divideva bhogan. So those who study the Vedas and drink the soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. So those who study the Vedas, drink the Soma juice, follow the injunctions, they are ultimately given the facility to take birth on Swarga, the Divya Swarga, where they enjoy delights. Full facility for sensual enjoyment, fully. Then the point is, that sounds good. But a sane person or somebody who's intelligent will ask, okay, fine, we can go there and we can enjoy. What are the conditions? Something in the world we live in today, sometimes, when we are faced with perfect situation or a very good deal, we begin to become a bit suspicious that, it's too good to be true, right? Like some, 90% sale discount. If some shop gives us 90% sale, you begin to wonder, right? That how can somebody give 90% discount? Because what profit will they make? And if they don't make a profit, how will the business run? They'll have to close the shop. So we know, businesses, they may have 10% profit or 20% profit. So yes, 10% sale, 20% sale, we can understand that they're lowering their profit, but they're still making some amount of money. But when they give 90% discount, you begin to wonder. That either it is some cheating business going on or there are some fine print conditions. Only some people will get, or if you buy something more, then you get something like that. So same thing, when something like this comes up, initially we feel, oh my God, this is a perfect place for me to be. But a sane man will consider that, okay, it's a perfect place. It's too good to be true. What are the conditions? How long can I enjoy? What is my level of enjoyment and how long is it? After that, what will happen? Logical questions, right? So Bhagavad Gita gives that. And in the next verse itself, Krishna mentions, Te mam bhuktva swarga lokam vishalam kshine punye martya lokam vishanti evam trai dharmam anuprapanna gata gatam kama kama labhante. Translation: when they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. So, verse number 20 was advantage of going to Swarga. Verse number 21 is disadvantage of going to Swarga. Now we have to decide. Because if we don't know the full story, it is very difficult to make choices or take a decision. So yes, facility is there. But then what happens? As Krishna says, after enjoying in Divya Swarg, which is the heavenly planet, the people, they come back to this mortal planet again, which is Bhauma Swarg. And this Bhauma Swarg is where these 8 varshas are situated. So after enjoying there, when the pious credits start reducing and your level of enjoyment falls from Divya Swarg to Bhauma Swarg, you come to Bhauma Swarg. And so those people can come to this 8 varshas and enjoy. Now again, okay, they come to this, then what happens? Then here, as Krishna mentions, that yes, they come there, they enjoy, but still they are in this cycle of birth and death. And as and when we know that the reactions to those pious activities, they are formed, I mean, as they are reducing, slowly, as we are enjoying, it's reducing. And till it comes to the point where there is nothing remaining, then we will not be able to enjoy or stay there. So then we are forced back to come to a lower platform, or in the time of sense enjoyment, if we are engaging in some activities which are not really pious, then we will get the reaction for that also. So people in this material world are often attracted by enjoyment or sources of sense enjoyment. But what the Lord is trying to tell us is this place, it may seem outwardly like a place of enjoyment, but actually this is a place of misery. Ultimately, it's a place of misery. Why? Because there are 4 problems: Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So any place which has these 4 problems, however long, however facilities we may have, ultimately you will have to it will come to an end, and you will be rotating in this chakra of birth, death, old age, and disease. And you will suffer at the end. You may enjoy now, but ultimately there is suffering. So the Lord, He takes so much effort to convey this message to us through the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Even in Bhagavatam, in Bhagavatam, there is this description in chapter 2, where the Lord says that why does He perform these pastimes? Why does He give these instructions? He gave these instructions. Why? For what is the purpose? Because when somebody is enjoying, they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear about bad things. Like when somebody's life is going through some everything is going well, as having a good job, business is well, I've got good house, good cars, good family, good friends, a lot of money, everything is going well. There may be some minor, problems here and there, but overall everything is going well. To that person, if you say that things will come to an end, will they believe? They will not believe. What to talk about believing this? Yudhishthir Maharaj was asked this question, right? What is the most amazing thing in this world? And what did he say? Every day people are dying and we see around us people dying. Still, we believe that I will never die. So even for something as sure as death and as physically evidence is there that this person has died, somebody who is moving on to their later years will eventually die, and same thing will happen to us as well. We know that for sure. Nobody can argue and say, no, 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 I will not die. Only an insane person can talk like that. We know that. Still, we are constantly making plans for enjoying more and more and more, thinking, I'll continue. At least 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, I'll be there. We think at least 10 years, I'll be there. And we continue these activities. So we are set. Even though we are not in those 8 varshas, we are in Bharatvarsh. We are in the place where we are suffering. And we are in Kali Yuga. In spite of that, we are creating opportunities for sense enjoyment. So in this particular verse, Prabhupada, in the purport, Prabhupada gives another very interesting aspect, that all living entities obviously have union, especially in terms of mammals and those species. And when they unite, they have offspring. Now, if it is a higher form of life, then the pregnancy rate is less, and also when the offspring arrives, they are not large in number. But as you go down to the lower species of life, the amount of or the frequency of pregnancy increases, and the amount of offspring also increases. So Prabhupada gives the example in this purport that a dog, a life of a dog or a cat, the female dog or cat gets pregnant twice a year, average. And they have, anything between 6 to 10 offspring in every pregnancy. Right? And then he gives another drastic example of a snake, where the snake becomes pregnant even frequently, and every pregnancy gives rise to hundreds of offsprings. So the lower form of life have got more rates of pregnancy and more offspring. Higher form of life has got lesser pregnancy rate and lesser offspring at one point. Right? Now, can somebody argue that, okay, if a twin is born or a triplet is born, is it bad? Well, we don't know whether it's good or bad, but the point is, it may seem like, okay, it's just one of them, but it is not that frequent. Like normally, even in human species, right now, when the lady is pregnant, there is one child. Some instances there may be twins or triplets, or is even rare. Quadruplets even rare. But one thing is certain: we don't know whether it is inauspicious or they are in the lower species or not. But definitely, when there is more than one offspring, imagine the effect it will have on the mother and the father to take care of 2 babies at the same time. Even all of us are parents here. To take care of 1 baby at one time is a big challenge. What to talk about more than one? So it's not a very pleasurable experience. It's a struggle to somehow, if that does happen. So by nature's arrangement, there is one only. But that one offspring can happen whenever there is union. Not every time, of course. There are a lot of factors involved. But whenever there is union, there's pregnancy. Or there is a risk of pregnancy, should we say. Whereas in this aspect in this Varsha, that aspect was completely removed. So it's interesting that Prabhupada brings this up to say that how high level of sense pleasure is available. Right? Now, keeping that in mind, we have to understand that, see, why the description of the body is given, because we have to enjoy with the body. What do we enjoy with? Body, we enjoy with the mind, and we enjoy with the senses. So if we have these three elements very sharp, very youthful, right, and very healthy, then we can enjoy for a long period of time. So we have this propensity, and if we are having these facilities in a very healthy way, we can enjoy. So after hearing these descriptions and the propensity to enjoy, naturally people will be drawn. But the Lord then tells us through Bhagavad Gita that it will not be constant. Number one. Number two is, he not only gives the instructions, he also does something. What does the Lord do? He says in Bhagavatam, Bhagavati Eshwa Satvena Lokan Vai Loka Bhavanaha Leelavattaranu Rato Deva Tirtyan Naradishu. So what does he say? The Lord is saying that he maintains the planets that is inhabited by the devatas, the human beings, and the lower animals. He maintains the planets. So all of this Swarga that we were talking about is maintained by Krishna. The facilities on these planets for enjoyment also is provided by Krishna. Why? Because of our desire to enjoy. But the Lord knows that we may have the desire to enjoy, but this level of enjoyment is very, very insignificant compared to the enjoyment that we can get elsewhere. That we don't know. The Lord is aware, but we are not aware. So, it is not that the Lord is wanting to stop us from enjoying sense enjoyment, but the Lord is giving us information or the process where we can enjoy more, and enjoy more not only with our senses, for our senses, where we can enjoy more with our senses to please the Lord's senses. As simple as that. Enjoyment is there, senses also are required, and they need to be agitated. They need to be agitated. But the agitation is not for just my satisfaction. Now the agitation is for somebody else's satisfaction. And that somebody else is not somebody who is connected to us in this material world, but that somebody else has to be somebody who is eternal, somebody who we can always fall back on, somebody who will never die, somebody who is always going to take care of us. Doesn't matter whether we are good or bad. Doesn't matter whether we fall or we don't fall. Now, who is that person? So the Lord, what does he say? Leelavatanu Rato Deva Tiryan Naradishu. So he says that he assumes the roles of incarnations. Leela and avatar. He takes avatar. To what? To perform Leela. So he takes incarnations and he performs pastimes, Leelas. For what? What is the purpose? To reclaim those who have put themselves in the mode of goodness or pure goodness. So he wants us to engage in activities of pure goodness, not just goodness and do pious activities, but in the mode of pure goodness. And he personally comes or sends his empowered representatives in the form of these acharyas, guru, sadhu, shastra, to reclaim us. So reclaim, we have come here. So he wants to reclaim us back. Why? So that we can be reinstated in our original position, where we have realized our Sat, Chit and Ananda. We are full of bliss. So the point of enjoyment is not alien to us, or it is not something we need to suppress, but we are trying to find it in the wrong place. That is the problem. And there is a nice verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Krishna is actually making that statement, just like he mentions in Bhagavatam. What is that? Krishna kahe, ama bhaje mage vishoy shuk. Sometimes when we get this information about Krishna, his avatars, his leelas, we start performing devotional service. But the propensity to enjoy is still there, right? So some people who have not got the right association, who are not that sincere in their devotional service and are doing it only for getting better facilities for sense enjoyment. There are some people like that. There could be. So to such people, Krishna says, Krishna kahe ama, sorry, ama bhaje mage bishoy shuk. Amrito chhadi bish mage ei bodo murkh. So what does it mean that Krishna kahe amay bhaje? Means he is worshipping me. So some person may be worshipping me, but he also wants material happiness. He also wants to enjoy his senses. He wants to gratify his senses. So he's worshipping me, at the same time gratifying his senses. To such people, he says that I am trying to give Amrit, nectar. Amrit chhadi vish mage. I am giving him nectar and he is wanting poison. So like the small child, wants to, Prabhupada says, play with fire. The parent says, no, don't play with that. Play with fire. Play with this. But he wants to put his finger on the fire. So Amrito chhadi vish mage ei bodo murkho. So such a person who is engaged, somehow or the other started devotional service, but still, or is worshipping the Lord in some form, but still he has affinity to use that worship or the reaction of that worship for sense gratification. Such a person is called a murkha. So we have to understand that Krishna actually is doing all of these things, creation of all these material elements, creation of all such facilities is for our desires. Because we are desiring, we are making Krishna work so hard. He has to do so many things. And then after creating that, he is then trying to get us out of it. Because he knows we'll become frustrated one day or the other. After enjoying for 10,000 years, we'll become frustrated. Maybe we'll go for another round of 10,000 years. I don't know. And then eventually we'll become frustrated. So when we become frustrated, Krishna is waiting that please, I'm giving you now a better form of satisfaction, happiness, and a place and activity which is your constitutional position. And to that end, Krishna came down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give us that facility, how to be completely devoted to the Supreme Lord, how to follow his instructions, and how to be completely engrossed in that connectivity with the Supreme Lord. And to that effect, all the acharyas, the parampara, have given us the process. And Srila Prabhupada has made it even easier for us to follow that process. So we hear these descriptions, and rather than being attracted to that, we understand that, yes, I would have been attracted, but now it's not a good deal. Yeah, good facility for enjoyment, but is it worth it? I have to take birth again. Why bother? So let me engage in some activity that is ultimately going to get me out of this material world. Never make me enter another mother's womb. And that will reinstate me in my original constitutional position. So when we realize that, then our bhakti becomes very intense. Are we chanting intensely? No. Are we reading intensely? No. Are we worshipping? Are we doing other services very intensely? No. Perhaps we are, but it goes through ups and downs. So when such descriptions happen and we see, when we hear these descriptions with the purport of Prabhupada, imagine, we just read this verse without the purport. You see the danger? It's a very dangerous verse in Bhagavatam. Without the purport of Prabhupada, it's a dangerous verse. So Prabhupada, he puts it into perspective and then tells us that don't be attracted to this. Ultimately, we should know where we belong and we start following the process so that ultimately we get out of this material world. So people who understand that, they do their devotional service more seriously, and then they not only do it seriously, they encourage others or inspire others to take on to bhakti and devotional service more seriously. And when we do that in the form of preaching, reaching out to people, by following it ourselves, we are not only making Srila Prabhupada very, very pleased, we are pleasing Lord himself, who is going to obviously bless us and ensure that even though we may have some shortcomings, we don't get stuck in this material world. And he gives us better facilities, better association, and better ways to change our desire. So rather than having the desire to enjoy in this 8 varshas, what is our desire? Is our desire to engage in tivrena bhakti yogena, so that we get out of this material world and forget all the varshas. It is our choice. So all of these verses are helping us change our desires. In association, we are changing desires. And that is the whole crux of this process that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So please take on devotional service more seriously, read Bhagavatam more seriously, and that will help us chant more seriously and keep us completely situated and focused in our path of bhakti. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
very, very nice discussion for as per this sloka. You nicely described about that whole things, especially characteristics of the Barsas, 8 Barsas, how people are there, lives for 10,000 years, life like Treta Yuga, and persons have strength like 10,000 elephants, and like their body is strong like thunderbolts. And end of the period of 10,000 years, they got only one child. Their wife delivered only one child. And you are discussed about the Sutta Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dapur Yuga, Kali Yuga, how the facilities and how people they enjoy. And Sutta Yuga, they are more do the tapasya rather than that sense gratification, because they know which is the best. And Treta Yuga facilities are there, but some little tribulation there. And Dapur Yuga, some miseries are there, and Kali Yuga is the most miserable and problem with that. So many things we have discussed, and this pleasure is less, but still we are trying to search the pleasure. That's why we are suffering the miseries and problem with the pregnancies as well. But that in these verses, the 8 Bhauma Sarga, you told about that. For pregnancy happened for the progeny, for the lineage. That's why they got only one child. And how nicely you described about the Bhagavad Gita 9:20, 9:21. Yes, as per our desire, we can go to a Dibba Sarga or Bhauma Sarga. But when our pious activities will finish, we'll get back to down. So, yes, and we have to follow our Srila Prabhupada's instruction. And we would like to, that we are experiencing that how is the best and how is the lowest. And after coming in Krishna consciousness, we can understand, and our also taste of change has changed for Srila Prabhupada's mercy and Guru Gauranga's all Vaishnava's mercy. And also we have discussed about that how lower species and the lower that like Billa Shargo, how they get the offsprings like snakes. They have got 100 of offsprings at a time. But higher form of life is actually more spiritualized, that all not happens. And actually what Lord wants in the last one, it's a cracks like so nice. Our sense needs to engage with the Lord's pleasure. And gradually we have to engage fully. And how he sending us sadhu shastra guru to engage him. A nice verse about that Krishna kahe ama bhaje mage vishaye shuk omrit chhadi bishmage ei bada murkha. Yes, we now understands who is intelligent and who is foolish because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And if we stay in our ISKCON, in our association, we will know our position and we will surely go back to Godhead. And we changed our desire, isn't it? So yes, whatever we know, the facilities, we go to the nice accommodation, nice beach, and everywhere. Now we know this is the time we finish. We already our body is rejuvenate to go for like Ratha Yatra for devotional service. Yes, that we understand that for the Srila Prabhupada's mercy and Devotees Association, we always encourage to do this. The Tibra Bhakti Yogi, no, yeah, this is the cracks. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice class. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Okay, any other comments, questions? No, all good. Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
conclude here.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Kripa
sindhubhyo
sindhubhyo
patitanam
patitanam
pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
vaishnavebhyo namo
vaishnavebhyo
namo anantapati vaishnavvrinda
Anantapati
ki jai Srila
jai.
Prabhupada ki jai His Grace Suhrit Krishna Prabhu ki
Ki
jai
jai.
Nimanande
Hari Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol. All glories to all devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.